Hey everybody, welcome back to Divulgence. Today I am happy to be joined by the founder of Think, Travis Misurell. Travis, what's going on, my friend? Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
First of all, why don't you take a couple minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself and, of course, what Think is.
Sure. So with myself, I have a background in psychology. That's kind of where I'm coming from when we get into the think part. I really see the world in like a sociological and psychological perspective. Identify as neurodiverse, autistic, and my version of like pattern recognition is really kind of seeing people like different perspectives in the world, different demographics, having an understanding of what different people see, kind of like their point of view in a debate and different things like that. And so kind of around 2016, when it was like Trump versus Bernie's, when it got very political and started shifting in this specifically political direction. And then fast forward to what we're building now, Think, which I've been working on for about 3 years. Futures Now Coalition, Think. So basically, what we're trying to do is we're addressing that right now. The problem in the United States is that we're not choosing our own leaders. We're basically choosing between two options that were already selected for us. You know, there's a Democrat establishment choice, a Republican establishment choice. We get to choose between the two of them. And like a lot of people don't know this, that millions of good people actually want to run for office, sometimes do run for office, but the gatekeepers, big money, mainstream media, all bury them before they ever see their name. So what we're doing, we're not trying to fix that system. We're building a new one, citizen owned, one fair place where every candidate can be seen, every citizen can be heard. We're the matchmaker that connects with leaders who actually represent you. So part of it is a platform that we're working towards, digital democracy, but it's not that part of it has been done before, done and failed before, that people have tried these different things. It's really more of the movement side of what we're building, the purpose, the why behind it is what drives us. And we saw that different platforms have failed in the past, and we're doing it radically different from them in order to actually make this succeed and get the buy-in that it deserves.
So, do you, as of now, do you necessarily yourself, or, I would assume your group doesn't support the two parties, but do you have any stake in that, or are you kind of full blown into finding this new solution or solutions?
Yeah, great question. So our thing is like we just want more choices and better choices. We frame everything as up versus down, and so
right. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So the idea is like whether the future holds third parties, independents, or just better Democrats and better Republicans, that's ultimately for America to decide. We want to build a fluid system that can handle any direction that America wants. And so where we stand is like, you know, we're very careful. We're not looking to ever endorse anyone, but we try to like, we give some hints of like some people that we could kind of firmly say they're up versus down, regardless of whether they're left versus right. And then ultimately part of the system is going to be tracking like how many big donors do they have? Do they take like, what is their proportion from small donors versus big donors? Special interests, super PACs, that we want to tie directly to them, make citizens know what conflicts of interest these candidates have. So part of it is showing the dirty laundry on the one side, on the upside, and then also giving visibility to the grassroots candidates that currently don't get the visibility. And so that's the core focus.
Wow. That's great. I can appreciate that for sure. Obviously I am from Canada, but it's pretty similar. We have like one extra party that does fairly well. So I guess our party is more of like a 3-party, 3.5 party, but it's the same thing. They're all flapping on the same bird, right? So it's interesting. And I can definitely appreciate that. So you say you guys have been around you're the founder, so you guys have been around for about 3 years, you're saying. Since since founding it, what have been some of the initiatives or projects that you guys have taken on?
Yeah, so well, real recently we just launched our digital politics hub. It's at hub.futureis.org. That started in January. It's kind of more of the prototype. There's this kind of chicken or the egg. Like our core focus is about the buy-in of citizens, get the language right of how we're explaining the issue, how do we appeal to people of all political beliefs. And then so now we have some like low tech platform right now that's starting to harness people's momentum, their anger, their frustration. Our big actions is that coming in next month, where we actually have some new connections with reform organizations and basically going to be able to funnel in some of the outside the box candidates of Nevada are going to start building profiles on our site. So that's one of our next motions. But in terms of what we've been doing in the last 3 years, it's really building like digital democracy is what we call the technology. Digital politics is what we call the mindset shift. And it's a mindset shift. It's a new lens, a new way to look at politics. It's been hard to explain. It's very abstract. So that's been part of the challenge. But fleshing out this language that, there's a Democrat way to say stuff, a Republican way. Now there's a digital politics way that it's non-divisive, and we're starting to really prove it. We have people in our movement that are moderate Republicans, centrist Democrats, progressives. We have anarchists, even some MAGA people. So we're starting to prove that no matter where you land on the political spectrum, what we're offering really resonates with people. They really understand it. We reach their pain point, their frustration, and that we have a solution that doesn't matter if we're going to disagree on specific policy issues. What we need is more choices, more visibility, overcome the money in politics barrier and the establishment barrier. And then everything else will start fixing itself. If we just had candidates that actually want to represent us and are not just money hungry or big donors, special interests, all that stuff. If we have candidates that don't have all these conflicts of interest, that flips the entire system upside down. So that's what we've been building, is the language, building relationships with reform organizations, journalists, podcasters. And now really we're getting our feet to the fire with Nevada next month.
That's great. Well, good luck with that, and congrats on all your accomplishments since then. I should have asked this first. I mean, you touched on a lot of this already, so if there's anything you might want to add to it, but essentially, I'm pretty sure it's not just your thought, but I think it's kind of like, not a slogan, but like a belief or a value, or not a value, but like a belief of the organization that democracy is rigged. Does that sound about right? Is there any? Yeah. So I know we got into a little bit about the not enough candidates, not enough good candidates, conflict of interests, and all these extra special interests. Is there anything else that you guys try to highlight in that?
Yeah, so the main like three evils of the rigged system that we talk about is the establishment media, the corporate money and big money in general, and then the party gatekeepers. So those are like the main three that are kind of in the way of these of good candidates. And so I've been part of it. We've been slowly dabbling with candidates. Next month is when we're really getting in with the politicians themselves, but most of the good candidates, they all say kind of the same thing. Yes, there's the money issue. They don't have the big funding, and then the party leaders don't want them to win. They, when before a primary even starts, the candidates, the parties kind of know who they want to win. They don't
Right.
want us to choose. So they're going to stack it all against the candidate that we want. And then the establishment media, they won't give those people the attention, especially if you're third party or independent. They won't even recognize you even exist. And then even with the primaries, they're going to give the most vocal time to the establishment picks, and sometimes never have the grassroots candidates on stage. So we're basically, part of what we're building is like this alternative ecosystem, really an alternative stage that's owned by the citizens that allows everyone to get their visibility.
I mean, unless you're someone who is active in your communities, active in politics, or very aware of politics. If you're just watching the news or reading the papers or anything like that, like you said, some of these parties or candidates, they just don't exist. They truly just don't. So it's crazy that over time, it's just this system's just locked into place where, like you said, the parties are picking the front runners and the media is highlighting them, and a lot of the picking doesn't really come down to the people. So
yeah, so that's really our focus point, like, because we don't even push people towards any direction other than like, is this candidate going to fulfill their promises? Do they have their conflicts of interest? Like, we already touched on the conflicts, but the other big part is like, do they fulfill their promises? Be a little harder to build this algorithmically. It's going to take a lot with different developers, but we want a system where, like, okay, you promise A, B, and C, but then when you're in office, did you even try to do those things? And since establishment media killed journalism, they don't hold the candidates accountable. Like, once you're elected, if the media is more Republican, they're going to say the Republicans doing great, the Democrats doing horrible, and vice versa. It's never about, well, they said this, they're okay. No. They go right into the party lines, and there's no objective data of like, is this candidate trustworthy? Are they actually going to fulfill their promises? So that's another big part of what we're trying to overcome.
Yeah, the party system, and in your case, like the two-party system, it's so entrenched in how it just works there that it seems that any sort of change would be so difficult. Do you guys have plans or goals to shake that up a little bit? Whether it be, I don't know what you could kind of go with, but I mean, you did mention giving more the spotlight or highlights to third parties and alternative parties. But yeah, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so really, like, because one of the things is like, why can't third parties win? And there's a few reasons for it.
Right.
And we're tackling all the reasons. One is it boils down to money. They don't have the big donors, and then they also, because of visibility, they don't have regular small donors either. But what that kind of boils down to is infrastructure. So right now there's a Democrat party machine, Republican party machine. You could argue it's the same machine that's doing both. But then independents and third parties, and even good candidates within the two parties, they don't have infrastructure, or they have to build their own. Each third party has its own infrastructure. Independents have no infrastructure. Sometimes they have a coalition they work on. So what we're calling for is a citizen-owned shared infrastructure. Yes, it's pretty much all digital, but like, if there's just one place that they all have a stage, they all have a chance to prove to the citizens, hey, this is why you should vote for me, it starts changing the game completely. So a lot of what we're working with is like, we're not expecting to change any legislative change anytime soon. We're changing the framing and how, like, giving you all your choices before they shrink down to two choices, and like giving these people their chance. So we do want to give a leg up to the independent, the third party, but it's the same as like, if there's a grassroots candidate within the two parties, that's fine as well. Some of the profiles that we're launching next month is going to have like both like, what party are you running in, but then what is your actual political identity? So somebody could be like, well, I'm running as a Republican, but I actually identify as a libertarian, or I'm a socialist but running as a Democrat. Like, so we're going to have like fluidity like that, where you can choose your own, kind of self-identify your own lens, and like, so kind of it allows you to plug in on how the system exists today, but then convert it to how it should be and what America would want it to be. And there's a lot of layers to how this unfolds. We're gonna have like a people's primary, not this year, but by the full general election, where while the Dems and Republicans are doing their primaries, we'll let everyone run against each other. Libertarian, Green Party, even the grassroots within the two parties. And it won't have it won't necessarily have a legal implication. It might in some states by then, but not everywhere. But the core thing is about electability, because that's another thing of why they don't win, is they don't win because people don't believe they could win and they're worried they're going to waste their vote. But so if we run a primary and we say, hey, in this Senate race, the Libertarian candidate is actually doing really well in the primary, and they have a really good chance that in the general election, if you actually vote for them the way you want, they actually have a chance to win. But in this other seat here, no third party, no grassroots candidate is trending that high. They're not getting the support that they need. So you might want to vote for the lesser two evils if that's how you want to go. So the idea is getting a reasonable assessment of does this candidate have a chance, and then let the citizen decide if they're going to quote unquote waste their vote on a third party, or decide they make their own decision ultimately at that point.
Okay. We did mention it before, and this is something that I read in some of the materials you sent me ahead of time. The up-down lens as opposed to left and right. I love that. I really love that. Can you just maybe talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah,
because that's how personally how I see things, and I think my audience and the people that I'm trying to speak to, I think that's how they see things too.
Yeah. It's totally fundamental to what we're doing, is the up-down lens. So from the beginning, so basically it's there's up-serving candidates and down-serving candidates. It also applies to media. It really applies to a lot of different things ultimately. But just talking about the candidates. So an up-serving candidate, basically what that means is they turn to people that have more power than them to lift them up into power. So they're turning to their big donors, the party leaders. They want to work with the concentration of power and succumb to whatever they're demanding in order to rise into power themselves. Where the down-serving candidates are the grassroots candidates, and they want to rise to power by getting the voters to want to vote for them. And so they take small dollar donations, either only or mostly, and they rise to power by just gaining so much grassroots support and genuine support by the voters that's how they rise to power. It doesn't matter the establishment doesn't like them. They get the votes without the establishment helping them. So that's so important of the lens that, and we're not even saying you have to throw away the left versus right lens, but just adding this lens, whether you keep the other side or not, this is more important. It's are they actually intending to make your life better, or are they just getting into power and all they're going to do is serve their biggest donors? Are they going to just serve those that give them the most money and give them their power, or are they actually going to do their job and actually represent their voters? So I say this, that it almost wouldn't matter if Congress was all Democrat or all Republican, even if it was half and half, but they actually wanted to serve the people. Things would get better. They would find ways to compromise. They would find ways to start moving the needle forward, give us a little better economy, deal with the inflation, deal with the issues that most people want. And the left versus right, yes, it's part of their strategy, but again, it's the intention that's the bigger problem. It's those that are in office, they don't want to fix these issues. They're paid not to fix these issues.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'd like to hear a little bit more about the Digital Politics Hub. You did mention that. Maybe go over that a little bit as well, please.
Yeah, sure. So, so kind of it's the bridge between now and the overarching digital democracy that we want to build.
Right.
So there's actions that people can take right now. We call them citizen architects. So anyone that wants to join us and they like what we're about, they want to help this grow. There's just what we call micro actions. There's small actions they could take, mostly digital actions. It's still in its infancy. We just launched it in January, but there's going to be a bunch of upgrades even every couple of weeks. There'll be bigger upgrades, and the next month is the politician profiles. But it helps people just one, they can learn just what the problem is. Two, they can take actions to spread awareness for us, but also amplify independent journalists, amplify independent candidates as we build these profiles and lists of down-serving people. So that's one side is micro actions. Another part of it is the that you could recommend candidates. If there's a candidate that somebody says like, oh, they would love your mission, they need to get a profile, you could submit their information. We'll contact that candidate. So we do that for candidates, journalists, podcasters, even movements, anyone that it's really just to build the network. If you feel like there's someone in an organization or candidate that would like what we're doing, that wants to be part of this, fill that information out, and we will connect with them. So there's different things like that, and then as next month launches, again, especially with Nevada, is connecting. We're gonna have all the profiles and all the outside the box candidates. We're gonna list as many as possible of candidates that are outside the box. It'll be nationwide, but we have a funneling of candidates from Nevada specifically that's going to start happening. So that's our main focus. And that's, again, just for the visibility of these candidates, that, hey, like, if you actually pay attention to the primaries, there's certain people that now we can give them more visibility, help them rise, help them actually stand a chance without taking all the legal bribes that exist. So I guess in a nutshell, the hub is just a way to be part of this. There's also a section that asks for your opinion. There's going to be different polling and survey questions. We want to know what the American people want. We want to know their main pain points. What keeps them awake at night? What are the key issues? If the system isn't like forcing you into a topic, and we're just saying, hey, what do you care about? Like, what is that? What does that look like? And especially right now, for the first time in like modern history, there's more people identify as independent than the two parties like ever in modern history. But no one knows where to find them. No one knows how to poll them. And so, in a small level, we've proven that we could attract these independent people. So we just need to scale that up. So there's a whole section that's going to be more and more about the learning what they want, getting people's feedback. We want people to really feel like they're building this with us. Like we have the clay, we have a vision, we know where it's going in most details, but we want to leave a lot of room for citizens to say, hey, why don't we, if you add this feature, it'll help people do this. And, they could keep adding features, adding language, adding different ways to what this can mean to people. Because what we really learned is like a lot of people take in different parts of this mission, because obviously there's very wide scope, which is also part of the challenge.
Sure.
But people translate, they take in the parts of what we're doing and what appeals to them the most, and we're learning how more and more to take advantage of that in a positive way of like, what do you see that this could be? Where do you want us to focus our energy in terms of features, and who do you want us to focus on bringing into this network, kind of a thing.
Interesting. Very interesting. And how large are you guys approximately when it comes to, boots on the ground, people that are physically part of your organization?
Yeah, so the team right now, we have about a little under 20 people, more part-time volunteer right now. But everyone's dedicating like 15, 20 hours a week to this.
Right, that's great.
And so it's mostly like social media engagement and outreach is our main two things. So connecting both citizen outreach type things, as well as like looking at reforms, alternative parties, independent coalitions, just anyone that wants true democracy, wants the people to actually be represented. We want to interconnect them. We want to respect their political beliefs. We're not here to debate the specifics on policy stances. It's really the structure itself.
What has been the over the last couple of years, what's been the overall feeling of people when they respond to what you guys are doing and your ideas? I mean, obviously, like you said there, you mentioned about people identifying as like alternative parties. And like, mega, there's been the mega civil war. Over the past few years, the Democrats have been falling apart. Obviously the Republicans are having tons of problems. And the Epstein files alone is just because that's just been a hot potato that, obviously Trump's holding the potato now, but it's been fumbled through administration. So, he's not the only one, bullshitting around with this. So a lot of people are just fed up, right? So I feel like, means for change like this could be met with a lot of enthusiasm and interest.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I've talked to a couple, like me directly, a couple thousand people by now, face to face. And, yeah, I mean, you said a lot of it, like we even call, like, a lot of people are calling it the Epstein class. And like, that's part of up down politics. What people identify as the Epstein class, that is up serving people. That's the concentration of power. That's part of what the system is meant to, like, offset the power back to the citizens as it's meant to be. But yeah, I mean, people, like you said, Democrats, most people say that Democrats don't have a vision. They're driven by, they're not Trump, and there's a lot of energy that we're not Trump gets them a quite a far way, of surprisingly. But people know that, like, what are they actually fighting for as Democrats? And then you have certain wings of the Democrat Party that have a vision, but then they don't have control of the party, like the progressive wing. So I mean, right now, more than ever before, like if you look statistic by statistic, people trust media is all-time low, trust in government is an all-time low. Even before Trump, this isn't just a Trump thing, even under Biden, the government all-time low.
And Trump is at an all-time low too.
Yeah. So like all those things, diseases of despair at all-time high, people are frustrated, the economy hasn't been doing well. I mean, kind of the pinpoint is, like, a lot of people here feel that we've never recovered since the Great Recession of 2008. And like those in power got their power back and then some, but the majority of Americans really never recovered since then. And so that's what's becoming more and more apparent to more people.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. And what I've noticed, I mean, it's only been a year, but I mean, it does feel like it's been longer than a year. But I mean, Trump's first term, he did a lot of stuff, but the audacity and the envelope pushing and like the complete disregard for like policy and law and procedure of this administration seems unprecedented. And like you were just mentioning, like no one's trusting, a lot less people are trusting government and are approving with Trump and all that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, not only what happens over the next 3 years, but I'm kind of worried about the pendulum effect that a lot of people talk about, where, this side does one thing and the other side responds even worse, or just as bad. Like, what if the Democrats do take over again? Like what are they going to do for their their pendulum swing, and their retribution and stuff, right? So those kind of party politics can be very dangerous to democracy, which I mean is kind of obviously an underlying theme in Fink, right?
Yeah, and that's the, like, I mean, that's another common denominator of, like, just people are just sick of the ultra partisanship. People are done with parties. Because that was a funny thing too. Because even when I first started this, I was like, whatever America wants, either multiple parties or like a four quadrant identifying system. Like maybe some random citizen has a really great idea that once people hear about it, maybe they'll love it. But people are just sick of parties, and it makes sense. Like, now that we're at the digital age, things could be more complex, where you could say, I stand on this side on one issue, that side on another issue, blah, blah, blah. And then be matched up to, okay, this candidate, this is where you match up with this candidate that you might like. And that you have an 80% match to this, almost like a dating service. Like you match up 80%. This is where you align. This is where you don't align. And then, like, just show them all the different options of where, and then ultimately the citizen decides for themselves. But, like, it's the world doesn't have to be put into two boxes anymore. Now that we have the technology to understand the complexities of what's going of like knowing, like, every stance of every candidate. It's not about, like, remembering what they stand for, or like, like even before websites and stuff, it's easier to see to identify different stances and stuff. So, people have been saying, a lot of people are saying they're just fed up with parties altogether. I mean, it'll take a really long time for people. Ultimately, there'll still be some form of left versus right lens to things. But, I mean, one of the things is like ranked choice voting is also being heavily discussed within citizens. Totally not. The establishment it has already fought back. Most states won't even allow you to basically even talk about ranked choice voting. But that would also ultimately be a cure as well, where people could rate their first, second, third choice of a candidate, and then that really blows off the lens, the lid for the two-party system. It's really like the number one thing I think that stops third parties from winning is that feeling like you're going to waste your vote. Somebody that they're not going to stand a chance that if I vote for them, then the worser evil is going to win. So I'd rather vote for like Biden to not get Trump when I really wanted somebody that was third party. So something like ranked choice voting would fix that. Our people's primary would be a kind of a band-aid for that. But yeah, people are done with the two-party system. There's still plenty of people that are very partisan, and I run into them a lot. But when you zoom out, they're actually a minority. They're the loudest voices. They're the most political, but they're also a minority. Most people don't like live their life saying, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. Like they might at the voting poll, but they don't live it in their daily life. And we've proven that we attract non-voters, people who've never voted or just totally fed up with the system, get excited by what we're doing. They're like, hey, if the system worked the way you guys are saying it, yeah, I would vote, I would participate. So we're trying to make it easier to vote, not as complicated to make your choice, and then easier in general to be able to participate in democracy without it being complicated, without spending like your entire life into it. So yeah, it's been appealing to a lot of people.
Do you guys have like a stance or I mean, just like, what are your thoughts on like with the upcoming elections and some of the talking points like the voter IDs and the controversy behind that, and Trump saying, maybe we shouldn't have elections, and the only way Democrats can win is by cheating at the State of the Union, and just the elections are just becoming more and more of a controversial thing. I think I could be wrong, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean that's where the establishment and the status quo is taking us for sure. I mean, really, like another way to see what we're trying to do is like we want to build an alternative ecosystem that drowns out that kind of noise. Like we want a system that you have independent journalists and independent podcasters, and you have the independent like small time nonprofits and movements and stuff, and you have alternative parties and like. So, it's ultimately going to be a citizen's choice. But if you turn off the TV and instead we're going to help matchmake you to the journalists that you might like, and like say like, you might want a left-leaning one, a right-leaning one, whatever, that's fine. But then also it's all down-serving. You want a down-serving journalist that actually wants to give you, whether they're right or wrong, you want their intention to be that they want to give you objective truth. They're not here to just fear bait you and freak you out just so you keep clicking. You want somebody that's going to, like, again, even if they're not right or like maybe the policy, their strategy isn't feasible or whatever, it's the intention just should matter more than it does today, where today's media is all about, they love the rage. They want us fighting. They want us fighting with each other so we don't fight the up-serving people. And then they want us fighting because it's good for the algorithms. It's good for clicking. The more we're angry, the more we're going to be clicking and entwined in their content. So we want to build a healthy democracy ecosystem where people get better journalists, better candidates, better, like just a whole new system that's not powered by the top. It's a level playing field. So somebody from the top can have a voice, but they can't buy a louder voice than like an independent journalist, for example.
Right. I talk about on the show a lot about like alternative media and like the rise of a lot of these podcasters or alternative media people, some of who are like coming from a news background, or coming from some other background where they're already like, very wealthy, if not millionaires, and they have these crews and assistants and production and studios and stuff that just outmatch what people like myself can do. And they're always raised and put on a podium above the rest. And I find it's hard to find people who, like myself, or a lot of the people that I try to bring on the show, are like, try to just shoot it straight down the middle. These people like, Nick Fuentes and Tim Pool and Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens and all that. They always seem to pick sides and stuff. They can't necessarily shoot it right down the middle. So what's it been like for you guys trying to find people who can, act in good faith, essentially, and help you with what you're trying to accomplish? Because a lot of these people, even though they're trying to make it seem like they're not biased, and they're just looking out for the people, they're just, they're being sponsored and paid by someone, and they're rooting for someone, and that's all they really care about, it seems.
Yeah, all great questions and points. Yeah, so to be clear, like the way, we're not even expecting, like, yeah, it'd be good when there are like a middle of the road kind of shooter that's like really trying to be in the middle, but like part of our thing is like, humans are biased, that there's always going to be a bias in there, and it's more about the intention. Like, is my intention if I'm gonna like start my own news outlet, am I gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna keep my people in constant fear so they keep clicking on this, and I want to sway them to this direction, I want to sway them to that direction? That's negative intention. You might like, then the good intention would be somebody that's like, I'm going to give you as accurate as what I understand the world to be, and then I'm going to explain it like, this is what's happening, this is why I think it's a bad decision that it's happening. So like, we're not saying that they're going to be like nonpartisan journalists per se. Like, you might have, like, we eventually see like you'll have socialist journalists, you'll have libertarian journalists, you'll have moderate Republican journalists. Like, they'll have a lens. It's just, are they genuinely believe that their lens is what is the truth, or are they just selling you? Are they being paid to give you a certain narrative? So that's a lot of what we're talking about. So as long as they're upfront that, hey, I'm a this, I'm a that, and so a lot of the podcasts and stuff that we're already connecting with, they all have a lens, but they understand. The biggest thing is they understand up versus down. They recognize that both parties are part of the problem. That's really the main litmus test we have. Is like, as long as you're acknowledging that the system is broken, both sides are part of the problem. The concentration of power is manipulating us. Long as they believe, they agree with that narrative, they admit to that narrative. We're fine with wherever they land on the spectrum. And then it's up to the citizens. Like, if citizens are going to gravitate towards what their own political leanings. So we just want you a down-serving progressive news or down-serving libertarian news. And like, as long as it's down-serving, that's a huge step in the right direction.
Okay, gotcha. I know your guys' focus is not to be like debating policy, but do you guys stand on any policies or lean towards any kind of policies in any arenas? Or is that something you're just not looking at right now? Or
mostly not taking a stance, but I mean, money out of politics, we're very adamant about that. Ending gerrymandering. There should be a neutral way to build like districts. That's been a bad thing. And then ranked choice, like what we said with ranked choice voting, we support any form of flexible voting method. It looks like ranked choice is what's most popular right now by the American people, but like, we think that any form, whether it's that, proportional voting, like whatever, any way that kind of breaks down where we're stuck in just two parties is good with us. So we do support ranked choice voting, but we'd be open to, if people wanted to go in a different direction, star, proportional. There's like apparently way too many options on that. So those are kind of the main things that we would take a stance. Everything like, because that's really what makes us so unique, is that we want to just build the stage. We want to be the referee. We want to build a level playing field, then think as the referee. Let all the teams play the sports, independent or team sports, play it on the stadium that we build. We'll call it out if you're cheating, but long as you're playing by the rules, then let the best man win with the citizens. It's your job to win the people over. We're going to give you the stage, an equal playing field, but then you have to, prove you're trustworthy, prove you're the right person to represent them. And then, we'll give you fair algorithms, unlike the other social media system, but then you have to prove that with a fair system that you can rise.
Sure. Okay. So looking back, two-part question, looking back and looking ahead. So looking back, are there any, any prominent results or accomplishments, aside from obviously like the great work you guys are doing and the general ones, but any results or accomplishments you would want to highlight? And then looking ahead, in 2026, and with those elections coming up, and then with the 2028 elections, what does progress look like for you guys?
So, so I mean, the biggest highlights so far is really what's happening right now. That we launched the hub in January, and then again, still in its infancy. What's getting built in the next couple weeks and months is big. But then really next month we're gonna really start getting deeper and deeper with the public. Like the first 3 years was really about building the digital politics side of things, the language, the lens, how to frame ourselves, our team, our culture, our operations. How do we engage out externally? So it was all about kind of building our internal team ecosystem first. And now we're moving into now we're building those relationships. Like we have Vote Nevada is one of our big allies. And then there's some connections there where there's like a campaign manager that only works with outside the box candidates. So he's going to start bringing people to create their profiles and communicate through our platform to connect with citizens. We just revamped our Discord, because it's really the hub and Discord. We're kind of building it as like two sides of the same coin. The hub is where you take action, and the hub is and the Discord is where people can build community with us, have these conversations that's beyond left versus right. It's about the rigged system itself and how do we transcend that with the digital age. So those are the main successes. And then so really right now the I guess best case scenario game plan is that we're going to be involved in Nevada's primary, highlighting these outside the box candidates as citizens come in, because it sounds crazy, but there's candidates there that are like, hey, I want to know what my candidates want. I want to know what the constituents want. I'll actually shape my policies to what you want. And A, they need the visibility that they don't get, and B, they need to know what the people want. And so that's what we're about. So we want to get the polling data. We want citizens to come on board. What do you care about? What are your main issues? We're going to get the anonymous aggregated data to let candidates know, hey, this is what they want. Give visibility. It's almost like it's the matchmaking side is really what we're focusing on next month, is matchmaking candidates to citizens. What do the citizens want? What candidates will actually represent you? And then once they're in office, hold them accountable to their promises. But so right now it's about Nevada. We're open to all states, and other sporadically there'll be other other candidates we've talked to across other states will create their own profiles as well. And then the goal, again, kind of lofty, is that we hope to gain enough traction and visibility through independent digital means that by the end of the year, with the November election, we start getting closer to nationwide attention. Just with Nevada, if we crack the code that we're matchmaking independent candidates and citizens, learning what the independent citizens want, yada yada. That's journalist news. That's a story break. So then immediately we have a bunch of story breaking of journalists talking about us, talking about what we're succeeding at. And so just a multi-layered plan to get the visibility that we need through independent journalists, social media, different ways of like grassroots style, but like on a massive scale. So the goal is by the general election that we are big enough that we're not just affecting Nevada, we're starting to affect all states. And then the goal is really, and then 2028 is when we have by then we'll have our big, we're like fully on our feet, really have our tech fleshed out, do our people's primary, have all the politician report cards ready to go, at least federal and state level. And then everything is pretty big from there. So that's, again, more of the best case scenario, but at least like the Nevada's lining up. And then like, once we get, the hardest thing was just getting the initial momentum started, the right opportunity to really apply everything into the immediate scenario. And now we have that with Nevada. And then, so I've always been confident that once we had that, I know how to grow it from there. So hopefully that's what's going to be happening in the next couple coming months right now.
Okay. Wow. Well, okay. Well, it sounds like Nevada will be a great test for you guys.
Yeah.
For moving forward. So I wish you the best of luck with that. What gives you drive and keeps you optimistic in this battle for you? Because it's a big feat to found something like this and to get momentum and start movement with something like this.
Yeah. I mean, well, the motivation, I guess the way my neurodiverse brain works, but like I see like there's a narrative that we're conditioned to believe based on the mainstream media and like those that have the power to sell us this narrative. But then I see throughout my whole life and then just testing it since I started with Think, like I could see like there's a true reality. There's more of an objective reality of what the people see compared to what the establishment sees. So even like something simple where like, Biden's president, Democrats are saying the economy is doing well. And when Trump's president, the Republicans are saying the economy is doing well. When you ask an average person, like, the economy has not been well for like a decade or three. Like,
right. Like when the hell has it been well?
So I've always known that that before it's even politics, I always saw like there's this more objective consensus reality where more people see more of the same thing. And it's just the way the establishment frames everything keeps us divided. And so I always knew if I just had the right vehicle to articulate this message, organize people, that I mean, even since I was in high school, I was talking about this consensus reality and like these different things. And like now that and then slowly I got to the vehicle. First it was politics and then the platform. And then like it was getting more and more narrowed down of like, how do I make this happen? So long story short, I know that most people want change. Most people would love what we're talking about. The hardest thing is defeatism. It's not like very few people say they don't want what we're offering. They're going to say it's not possible. They'll say the establishment won't let this happen. But no one, virtually no one will say, no, I don't want this. This would be a bad thing. It's like we're talking about a real democracy. Whether you call it a democracy or even a republic, some people play that nuance. And like, even if go with we're a republic or representative democracy, it's still, republic is a representative democracy. It's the same thing, but it's about electing people that actually represent you. So whether it's not direct democracy is voting on every law, citizens vote on every decision made. No, we vote on people, we elect people to represent us. But if they're lying to us or breaking all their promises, that's still not so it doesn't matter if you call it a democracy or republic, it's still a problem and we're still the cure. So we have just the way our language could work. We could translate what we're doing to what people care about. Again, I get a lot of libertarians. We get progressive. We get people on all sides, and like some of the language might be a little bit different, but it's almost like just translating what they believe into how this benefits them. And so I've always been confident that I just need the time to spell it out, to articulate it. I know I also over explain, and like, so that's where I need a team to like simplify, to like chop it up more. But I know that's why I need a team, is I know what I can do. I know what I can't do. I have the vision. I have all these ideas. It's chopping it up that I need people to help with. And that's been the number one challenge.
Cool, man. I guess before we wrap it up, I just wanted to ask about again about like third or alternative parties. I feel like there's a lot of for certain people there's like stigma or myths surrounding like alternative parties. If there's something you could say or things you can point out about alternative parties to for people to keep in mind, what would that be?
Yeah, so people like the two parties have conditioned us to be angry at those parties, the third parties, because they're like, oh, you're stealing votes from the two major parties, and they're ruining the election.
Right.
And and so I mean, like, I guess the two main things I would say, one is that the the like right now, statistically showing, most people would want third parties to win. Like, what was that? The last poll was like 60. It's been over a year now, and I'm starting to forget it. It was like at least 65% of Americans want third parties to be viable. They want 65% want a viable third party. So it's not that no one wants them. Most people want third parties. Just because a third party gets 5% vote right now doesn't mean they don't want it. It's just that people are convinced don't vote for them because they can't win. So that's the biggest part there. And right now it is true, third parties pretty much can't win. I mean, there's certain places where some slide in on a state level here and there, but it's really the system itself needs to change, and that's what we're doing. We want you to know before the election starts how much of a risk is it to vote for that candidate. We'll get an accurate thing. Right now, if the news doesn't like that person, they're not electable, and that's what the whole country bases on. They skip all the polling. They don't care what the people actually want. If the establishment doesn't want you, you're not electable. If they want you, you're electable. And so we want to give you an accurate information on that. But people shouldn't be, I guess the biggest thing is like people shouldn't be mad at third parties for wanting to participate in democracy like that. They're supposed to be able to do it. Washington, our father of our country, warned us that we would get stuck, that he basically didn't want us in any kind of a party system. And he worried that two parties would vehemently attack one another and that we would get nothing done because of this. So we're not doing what was intended by the forefathers, and but it also is going to take changing the system, and not even legally changing it, just building a new framework for people to see their actual choices before they're manipulated into a false two choice.
Fair enough. Travis, it's been a pleasure to meet you. I've enjoyed this talk a lot. Before you go, though, can you please let everyone know where they can find yourself and everywhere, where you'd like to direct them to, your website, everything you mentioned before? Please let them know again. That'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So the main thing is hub.futureis.org. That's the digital politics hub. It's even check it out now. Check it out in a couple weeks. Big updates ongoingly. That's the main place. And then our social media is @futureis.org. All one word. @futureis.org is where we do TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Most of the socials is with that handle. That's the website without the hub that you just showed there. And then this is our social. So futureis.org is the main homepage, just about us. Hub.futureis.org is where you actually participate. Click on the button to get on our Discord. That's our official online community. Yeah, that's the hub. So the hub's the main hub, and Discord are the main number one places to go. And then we're on pretty much all the socials: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're very active on social media. We do every Wednesday, we do a live podcast. We're still finding our footing on what that looks like, but we're very open to comments and people participating if people want to join in there. And yeah, so those are the main things.
Right on, man. Well, Travis, thanks so much for your time. I'll definitely be in touch. I'd love to have another conversation with you. You've definitely opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. And if there's anything I could ever do to help you guys, feel free to reach out. Please let me know. I definitely respect what you guys are trying to do. So good luck in Nevada, and yeah, good luck with everything. And we'll talk again soon.
All right, cool. Yeah, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Okay, all the best to you, Travis. Take care, my friend. All right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you to all the viewers, listeners, watchers, everyone out there. Thanks to all the supporters, subscribers. If you guys could please subscribe to the Divulgence podcast, the Divulgence podcast on YouTube. Please also subscribe on Rumble. We are trying to get our Rumble numbers up. You don't have to move there, but create an account and subscribe there if you'd like to support the show. Also, thumbs up here and there, 5-star review always helps, much appreciated. Don't ever feel obligated to give any sort of monetary support. That's not what I'm necessarily looking for right now. Just looking to learn and grow and put something together for you guys and everyone else that could be really special. But yeah, back to what I was saying. You could also find us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure to check out the Scott Horton Academy if you haven't already. Class is in session and the professor is in. You can get a discount for being a supporter of mine at scotthortonacademy.com/divulgence. We are also now affiliated with Ollie Demigard and the Demigardian Experience. Please check the details of the episode out for a link for any savings that we'll be passing your way in the future. As of right now, he has a Bali retreat, a freedom retreat in April. That sounds really interesting. I wish I could go to that. I'm actually kind of considering it, but yeah, check that out. And wishing you guys all the best. We have a couple days off, and then we are jumping into March full steam ahead. We got Lindsay Sharman coming on. We got William Ramsey coming back. We have the Truth Desk coming in. He has a great podcast. A great YouTube show. He's coming on, and yeah. I'll be in touch soon with more updates, but peace and love to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and yeah, all the best.